Yesterday afternoon, in a hotel room at the Mayakoba Resort outside Cancun, Marcelo Bielsa was waiting. Not preparing, not giving a tactical masterclass, not running through his meticulous setups for tonight's World Cup opener against Saudi Arabia at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Just waiting. His squad was waiting, too. Darwin Núñez, Rodrigo Beninker, Federico Valverde, Jose Maria Jimenez. The most technically complete, terrifyingly talented Uruguayan squad in a generation. A team assembled under one of football's ultimate visionaries, a man who lives to make great players immortal. And yet, there they were, marooned in Mexico while the clock ticked toward their ultimate destination, because their plane was forbidden from entering the United States. Welcome to a special edition of the channel, where today, we are stripping back the glossy, multi-billion-dollar veneer of the 2026 World Cup to look at a logistical nightmare unfolding in real time. Uruguay's charter flight from Cancun to Miami is a routine, two-hour jump. Yet, carrying a headline nation to its opening match of the greatest show on Earth, the aircraft was completely blocked from U.S. airspace. The required documentation was missing, incomplete, or rejected. As the squad sat stranded on the tarmac, the Uruguayan Football Association released a statement. It was only 4 lines long, but the final sentence carries more devastating weight than any corporate press release FIFA has put out all year. Due to problems beyond the control of the AUF, the departure from Mexico has been delayed. The squad is resting at the hotel. When pressed by investigative journalists on who exactly was to blame for this monumental screw-up, the AUF spokesman didn't mince words. He gave a one-word answer. FIFA, not the airline, not an administrative oversight by a junior official, not a clerical error in Montevideo. FIFA, this is the 2026 World Cup, and 5 days into the tournament, the governing body of global football is facing an organizational crisis it can no longer hide behind standard public relations statements. The story initially broke through Romain Molina, a world-renowned investigative journalist whose work with the New York Times and the BBC has repeatedly exposed the underbelly of sports governance. His report was blunt, noting that a new catastrophe, in terms of organization, had left Uruguay's plane unauthorized to join the United States due to administrative failures. The word he chose wasn't problem or delay. It was catastrophe. Within hours, global outlets confirmed the unthinkable. Uruguay was completely stranded. Their mandatory Sunday press conference, where Bielsa and Captain Jose Maria Jimenez were scheduled to speak, was abruptly canceled. The dark irony of this situation highlights a terrifying reality about how this tournament is being run. Under tournament regulations, because Uruguay missed their official media obligations, they now face heavy financial sanctions from FIFA. Let that sink in. FIFA's logistical oversight fails to get the team into the country, and then FIFA's regulatory committee steps in to punish the team for the absence caused by FIFA's own failure. The institution responsible for the disaster holds the absolute power to penalize the victim. Predictably, the damage control machine spun into overdrive. FIFA quickly issued a counter-statement, claiming the delay had absolutely nothing to do with international clearance, documentation, or border authorization. They claimed it was a standard, routine technical problem with the aircraft itself. But the AUF stood firm, pointing the finger right back at Zurich. 2 entirely conflicting stories, one stranded South American powerhouse, and a legendary manager left to stew in a Mexican hotel room the night before his World Cup campaign kicks off. Uruguay did eventually fly. They finally landed in Miami, and they will walk out onto the pitch tonight. But their preparation is completely broken, their schedule shattered, and Marcelo Bielsa will walk into Hard Rock Stadium carrying an immense fury that has absolutely nothing to do with the 90 minutes of football ahead of him. And if you think this is just an isolated incident, an unfortunate blip in an otherwise seamless tournament, you haven't been paying attention to what is happening at the borders. Just hours before Uruguay's plane was grounded, Palestinian Football Association President Jibril Rajoub announced that despite holding full FIFA accreditation and official tournament business, he was still waiting on the outside, unable to gain entry into the United States. It is a pattern that is becoming impossible to ignore, and it points to a much darker, structural failure in the way this entire World Cup was designed. Look at the casualties of the first week alone. Omar Artan, a premier referee selected by FIFA to officiate on the world stage, was turned away at the border after a grueling 11 hours of intense interrogation.
FIFA to blame, or is this one the mistake of the Uruguayan FA? Because just hours before their first game of the World Cup against Saudi Arabia, it's been reported that the plane taking the Uruguayan players from Mexico to Miami has been denied entry to the United States. This is a truly wild story. Basically, the Uruguayan FA are saying that FIFA have made a mistake because they haven't provided the right paperwork for them to have their plane authorised to enter the US. Bearing in mind, by the way, this is all taking place 24 hours before their first game of the World Cup. Yeah, pretty hectic. Spokespeople for the Uruguayan FA told The Athletic that they are blaming this on FIFA. They are convinced that FIFA have made this mistake. They have been able to arrange a second plane, but it's unsure whether or not that has the right paperwork, it will be able to land, etc, etc. Marcelo Bielsa, the Uruguay manager, was meant to be doing a press conference. That's been pushed back, and the funny thing is, if they don't arrive in time, they could be fined by FIFA. Now imagine that, Uruguay saying that FIFA are to blame for this delay, but they could get a fine because of not attending the press conference. It's a mess. The subplot here is that when the Copa America was held in the United States a couple of years ago, Marcelo Bielsa went on a massive rant saying that basically those who are organising the tournament in the United States aren't doing it properly, that he wasn't impressed, etc, etc. And you can only imagine this situation for a man who doesn't let his emotions go hiding will be even more triggering, because it isn't great preparation, is it? We probably haven't heard the last of this one, so in the meantime, for daily World Cup videos, make sure to be hitting that follow button.
Uruguay's journey to the World Cup just hit a major problem. So reports are now coming out that Uruguay's travel plans to the United States were disrupted after their flight was grounded due to missing documents, despite their game with Saudi Arabia being scheduled for tomorrow in Miami. You're telling me Uruguay might miss their first game? Bro, what is this about travel? Bro, I don't get this World Cup, bro. Honestly, watching the football is the best thing, but the outside of politics, like, bro, you're telling me, come on, man, let's be real here. You're telling me Uruguay, important document, they're just gonna leave it, like, it's gonna go, like, bro, how's it gone missing? Like, I don't get it, bro. This is, and look, if they do manage to get the flight later on, they're gonna be tired. It's gonna be a mad disadvantage, because, bro, they were expecting to travel to Miami to train, relax, and now all of a sudden, they're gonna have to wait.
Estados Unidos, un organizador estupendo para los mundiales. Todo el plantel de Uruguay está atrancado hace más de 3 horas en México sin poder ingresar para jugar el partido de mañana. A un día de jugar un partido tan importante como el primero de fase de grupos. Increíble. Ojalá que la FIFA tome medidas, ojalá que Uruguay no llegue. Claro que te estoy diciendo, y mirá que estoy con una manija tremenda por jugar el mundial. Pero estas cosas no pueden pasar. Estados Unidos no puede hacer lo que se le antoje. No nos puede hacer mierda el deporte que tanto amamos, que es el fútbol. Cosas que hace con los idiomas, que el periodista no puede hablar en el idioma que le quede más cómodo, o el jugador tampoco. Hayan países que no son bienvenidos por el anfitrión, que tengan que estar saliendo y entrando para poder jugar los partidos. Realmente se me vino a la cabeza las palabras que dio Bielsa en la última Copa América, que evidentemente les puso las pilas a todo eso. Por favor, FIFA, que Estados Unidos jamás vuelva a organizar un campeonato de fútbol internacional y dejen de lavarle la cara a los países como Qatar y estos locos, porque se están cargando el deporte.